Okay. Well. Speaking of crazy, what's this crocodiles thing? You said you got threatened to be fed to crocodiles.
We were working Cancun, and when we were working Cancun, we would work with what we called El Yankee. El Yankee was the head of the Federale police force for Cancun. And the Mexican guy I worked with, El Compadre, El Ocho, he was my contact. He worked with El Yankee of Cancun, so we had permission to work in Cancun. And that was fine. We did a bunch of trips in Cancun to Cozumel, airdrops, a lot of airdrops. And then we did some boat trips. Afterwards, Metro came in and took over La Plaza. Metro worked for Amado Carrillo. And Metro saved Amado Carrillo's life when they did an attempt on his life at the restaurant in Mexico City, that Valley High restaurant, whatever. Helped Amado escape through a bathroom window or something.
We'll come back to Amado. I don't want to get you on a tangent explaining that, but we'll explain that later.
So Metro, my compadre, my Mexican contact tells me, we're not working in Cancun anymore. Metro's in control. That's only going to lead to problems. Sure enough, a Cuban friend of mine came to Cancun, was working with a guy from Guadalajara, and I told him, I suggest you do not work here and continue working here. Sure enough, 2 weeks later, they found his head somewhere in Punta Sam and his legs down in Chetumal. They tortured the shit out of him and killed him. So that was even more reason to not to work in Cancun. So I'm in Mexico City. I'm not working in Cancun. I'm in Mexico City, and I get a call from one of the guys that worked with the Beltran Leyva brothers. And he says, I got permission to work in Cancun. Can we bring in a load through Belize? Then you can deliver it in Chetumal. He says, if you got permission to work in Cancun, I'll do it. So I bring the load up to Belize. The load is sitting in Belize. And I go to Cancun because I said, I'm going to go talk to Metro to make sure that this motherfucker has permission. So I go to Cancun and I can't find Metro. So I reach out to this lady that knows Metro, and I know Metro. I can't find her either. So then I go to one of their hotels that they own, and I'm sitting there at the bar, and in comes Gil. Gil is Metro's #1 transporter. He's the one that takes the merchandise from Cancun, takes it up to Houston. He was wanted for murder for killing some family on the border or something.
Nice guy.
That. Yeah, some regular shit like that. So I start drinking and playing pool with Gil. We both get f***ed up. And then I tell Gil, by the way, I got 600 kilos. They're from Metro. They're in Belize. And, I just want to let you know that they're there. And, let's talk about this tomorrow. I said, fine. All right. So we're playing pool. The last pool game will say, oh, hey, let's play for $250,000. I go, okay, let's do it. I was almost winning. Thank God I didn't win. I lost. So at the end of the night, I owe Gil $250,000 from that pool game. He goes home. I go to my hotel. My wife again is 7 months pregnant with Simon. So next morning I wake up and I go play tennis. And then since I had a Café Coba, I said after my tennis game, I'll go to my office to Café Coba. But I needed to call Gil. I needed to make some phone calls and try to find Metro. So I go to the payphone across the street. And while I'm at the payphone across the street, I feel a hit right here around my kidney. Bah! The butt of a AK-47. Bah! And somebody grabs me by the hair and yanks my hair out. Tries to put me in a Chevy. Luckily, it wasn't a Suburban. Luckily, it was a 2-door Chevy Yukon. Not a 4-door Suburban.
Why is that?
Because they had to put the seat up like this, and they had to sneak through that 2-seater. It was not a 4-door. It was so it was hard. If it was a 4-door, they just opened the back door and throw me in. So when they were trying to put me in, I would back roll and flip and kick like a goat, like a monkey. Finally, I said, okay, let's stop. Metro, listen, I've been looking for you. Hijo de Colocho, estás aquí trabajando. You're working under the radar. You thought you could get away with it, but I caught your fucking ass, and I'm going to kill you. And I go, what the f? And I go, okay, calmémonos. Mira, I was, they had pulled hair. I was jumping. It took about 10 minutes of this bullshit next to the payphone. And I said, okay, let me ride in the car with you. And eso sí, let me ride in the front seat because I'm heated up from all this exhaustion. So next thing, okay, so you want to drive in the car, you want to sit in the front seat, you want the AC. Next thing you know, you want to drive. No, I don't want to drive. I want to talk to you. Okay, let's go. So he had his people in his bodyguards because he always hung out with 2 or 3 guys and another car behind him. So he's telling me, you're going to the Crocodiles.
To the Crocodiles.
Te tiro para los cocodrilos. Yeah, there was a place it was an old amusement park that went bankrupt. And they had some pink pyramids, blue, these Mexican colors. And it was like brackish water next to the lagoon.
And they kept the Crocs.
Yeah, they kept the Crocs there. And it was known that people got thrown in the Crocodiles. Because Cancun at night, in the daytime, it's tourist haven. At night, it was the #1 arriving port for coke in Mexico. For a while, that was the #1 point.
Even as they were building up the resort.
During the daytime, it was resort town, vacation. At night, it was coke. Lanchas coming in from Colombia. So we're driving towards this abandoned theme park, water park. And all of this time, I'm trying to get Gil on the phone. I'm telling him, I'm telling you. I was playing pool with Gil, and I was trying to contact you. Okay, that's a bunch of bullshit. Last thing I'm going to see are those shiny, bright white tennis shoes you got on. That's the only thing that's going to be left of you. I'm taking you to, and we were on the way there. And I was trying to get Gil on the phone, and, that's the only thing that was on my mind is, my adrenaline. I got to get this guy on the phone. Suddenly I said, let me use your phone. I'll call him from your phone. No. As a matter of fact, I'll do you that courtesy because we're 5 minutes away. In 5 minutes, I'm going to do you this last courtesy. I'm going to call him from my phone. Metro calls him from his phone, and he picks up. And Metro goes, aquí tengo al hijueputa que lo único que va a quedar son los tenecitos blancos esos, las zapatillas, los tenis. The only thing that's going to be left are those white little sneakers that he's got on. I'm going to throw him in the Crocodiles. And he goes, what? No, because he was still hungover. He goes, no.
He owes me $250.
No hagas eso. Ese cabrón me debe $250,000 de un juego de billar. And then he looks at me and says, this cannot be true. And before that, he tells me, do you know how many stories I've heard? You know how many people have been sitting there? Well, actually, no. You're the only son of a bitch that sits in the front seat when we're going to send him, when we're going to kill him. Most people are tied, hog-tied, and duct taped in the back. But for some reason, you're sitting here next to, you know how many stories I've heard? That's just one more bullshit story. Playing pool, $250,000. Okay, Gil. When he heard, he'll tell him, no, he owes me $250 from a pool game. He looked at me and he kind of said, brother, you are crazier than we are. I always heard you were nuts because he knew that I worked with Rasguño. Yeah. I says, I always knew you were nuts. I heard about, but now I am 100% sure you are f***ing out of your f***ing mind. And at that point, we kind of bonded. It's the kind of people, these crazies, they look at you in the eye, and then suddenly I was like one of them. The same way you're sitting in a restaurant, he walks in and you look at him the wrong way, he'll put a bullet in your head. And he doesn't give a flying. Apparently at that point, he took me to the hotel like nothing had ever happened. We were best of buddies.
But you got the situation figured out where you were bringing the in the Metro?
No, Metro was his nickname.
No. I'm sorry, into his territory? Like you
because he confirmed. No, I played pool with him last night. As a matter of fact, he owes me $250,000, and he does have 600 kilos in Belize,
right.
Of which 50 are mine.
Right.
Because 50 kilos in Cancun at that time at 5,000 was $250,000. And I told him, I'll give you 50 kilos of the... So don't kill that motherfucker.
Guys, just to give you some context, we have an entire part 1 sit down with Luis that was released before this episode. You can see the thumbnail for that right here, and the link is in the description below for you to check out after you finish this one. And also, if you haven't already subscribed, please smash that subscribe button, hit that like button, and please go follow me on Instagram at Julian Dorey Podcast or on my personal page at Julian D. Dorey. And at Julian D. Dorey is also my X handle as well, so make sure you got me over there. The links are in the description. Also, as a note to our YouTube reviewers, as I mentioned on the disclaimer at the front to check out this timestamp, all of the stories in here discussed are in an educational context of a historical period in time. There are no violent images or any acts of violence depicted at any point. This is strictly an oral history. It is well within the guidelines of monetization. It is not something that falls under sensitive events, tragedy, death, or anything like that. So please, please stop tagging our videos and demonetizing us. It is killing our channel. Thank you.
So he dropped me off at the new hotel they had built, the Villa Magna. My wife was there. When I walked in the room, my wife said, "What the f happened? What kind of tennis game did you play?" I mean, my hair was torn out. My t-shirt, everything was, I was totally up. And I said, no, I just had a rough day. I'm gonna take a shower and I'm gonna take you to dinner. Sure enough, we went to dinner and suddenly 2 bottles of champagne, compliments of Metro.
Oh, my God.
From then on, no problem. There was backlogs in Cancun. Sometimes there was 20,000 kilos backlogged waiting to get out of Cancun because there was so much coming from Colombia. When my got there, it got put in the front of the line. Sure enough, he always had his 50 kilos.
I'm sure he did. So you are... What year is this, when this one happened, this story?
Well, my wife was 7 months pregnant with Simon. So this was 1997.
Okay, so
that was the last thing I ever did in That was the last thing I ever did in Mexico.
You left Mexico after this?
After that, I went to Panama.
Okay, all right. But before we get there, though, like, we've been talking all day. And so you've mentioned your family a lot and that you were in the middle of this. And I think you have 3 kids and 1 stepson. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So your wife that you're referring to is now your ex-wife, right?
Yes.
Was that your second wife or she was your first?
My first wife.
She was your first.
My first child is with a girlfriend I had.
Got it. Okay, so you weren't married to her. So at what point, I'm trying to go through the timeline that we've done in our head because we jumped a little bit, but you leave Colombia as your base and you go to Mexico in 94.
After Rasguño, I had the problem with Rasguño. Right. I went to Mexico.
Okay.
And started working with another outfit.
But you were, at this point, you're still able to go back and forth to America. You're not running
No.
When did that stop?
I left I left the United States in 1988, never to come back.
Never came back.
Next time I came back, I was handcuffed.
Okay. So that was earlier than I thought it was. Okay. So you basically, that was when you got hot there. But they didn't know your face or anything. They didn't know, they knew there was this guy named Luis. Like, I'm talking about the government, right? They didn't know who you were.
Bob Harley knew who I was.
He knew your face.
Yeah, because they couldn't figure it out. And then somehow or the other, I got a DUI back in 1979 or something. And Bob Harley's #1 assistant or something. Bingo, we got him. We know who he is. We know his ID. His mother lives on Key Biscayne through a DUI. So you shouldn't. Drinking is not a good thing.
Yeah. Okay. So you left in 1988. You had been married to your wife before you left, right?
No, I met my wife in 1989 in Colombia.
Okay.
So we got married in 91.
So she's Colombian.
Yes.
All right. So you meet her outside the country, so it's not like it's an issue leaving America because she's not from there. But she lived with you in Colombia, obviously. Then she lived with you in Mexico. And then after Mexico, you go to Panama. So she's just jumping country to country with you. And like, how often are you on the road and not even with her?
Well, while I lived in Cancun, I was in Cancun all the time because I was working in Cancun. I had Cafe Coba, so I had a beautiful life there. We had a house on the beach. We would go for walks on the beach. I would come home for lunch. Usually, fresh seafood because the fishermen would always offer us fresh seafood, and we would go out to dinner. Then we went to Mexico City. While I was in Cancun was when I found out I was officially indicted.
When was that, and what do you mean?
1995. Yeah. And I left Cancun. That's when I left to Mexico with my wife, and then that's when we became Jewish because I thought it'd be a good idea. Knowing that I was officially indicted, I thought I'd change my name a bit. So we lived in Mexico, and we had a great apartment in Mexico City and had a normal life. I worked. I bought a latex rubber. AIDS was still really popular back then, so I decided to make condoms.
Oh.
Yeah.
So you became a condom maker, too?
Yeah, condom maker and, dental gloves and, medical gloves.
Now, is this what you would wash the money through these businesses, I assume?
Not really, because I was already out of the United States, and those businesses were just businesses. They produced money, but I had a Mexican partner, and I didn't really want to mix it up like that.
So, but is the connotation there, meaning that like in these countries that aren't the United States, they don't really track where your money's coming from?
I don't want my partner knowing that I put $3, $4, $5 million through the business for no reason. He's my partner in a legal business. I've always been involved.
He didn't know about the other stuff.
Yeah, I've always been involved in legal businesses.
But they don't know. Like the partners have no idea you're an international cocaine trafficker.
No, not at all.
So what do you do with all the cash?
Well, you put it in Panama. You put it in Guatemala. You hide it.
So
I had safety deposit boxes in Guatemala and Aruba and Panama.
Okay.
Some accounts here, some accounts there. Remember the big money is made by the owners of the merchandise. We're just transporters, so we make money,
but
it's
not like
like
hundreds of millions.
Yeah, we see hundreds of millions,
right?
But we keep a percentage of that.
Still a good living.
Yeah,
certainly a good living.
It's very good living.
Did you ever...
can do whatever you want with that money? You do whatever you want. You buy whatever you want. You never have to ask the price of anything in life. You want 5 Rolexes, you buy 5 Rolexes. You want 2 Lamborghinis, it's a lot of money.
Yeah.
I mean, these other guys are billionaires. But, if 100 million go through your hands and you keep 10, still, that's a lot of money.
Did you ever deal with Noriega at all for anything?
No.
A lot of guys dealt with him during that era. That's why I ask.
No. Decided, probably for the best.
Yeah. Yeah, he went down in a ball of flames there. So
yeah.
But all right, so you're putting all your money all over the place. Your family's moving around with you. There's points where you do have a good normal life. Your wife knew what you did, though, right?
Yes.
Okay. So was she,
she was always after me to quit. And then we moved to Panama, and I told her, listen, come to Panama because, I've quit the business, and now, I'm in a healthy lifestyle, no drinking, none of this. So she came to Panama for a year.
What year?
That was 98.
Okay.
And after the year, I didn't quit the business. I kept working, and I kept drinking. Not that I was a total disaster drinking, but, a little more than should have, okay? The lifestyle, when it lends itself. So one Christmas, we went to Cabo San Lucas for Christmas, and I went back to Panama because we didn't travel together entering the country.
Why not?
Because she had one name and I had another.
Oh, you didn't give her any fake names or anything?
No, never. And I called and says, when are you coming? She says, I'm not. That's it. I'm leaving you. I'm not gonna spend my whole life, just like you said, as a gypsy. I promised her the world. I told her, listen, I've got a mansion picked out in Marbella, $3-4 million home down there. no, 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 no. And she left me.
And that was 98.
Yeah. And then I was seeing this girl that worked at the Davidoff store in Panama. So I told her, you want to come to Europe? And we left to Europe. But I was very depressed.
Yeah, I was going to say, that sounds like, because you said even to this day, you're best friends with your ex, right?
Yes. Yes.
So that's a lifelong relationship in a way. That had to be a very low moment.
It's the first time I ever saw a psychiatrist in my life. So.
You see a Panamanian psychiatrist?
Yeah, he gave me Paxil and Xanax at the same time. And I told him, I drink liquor. Says, oh, it's okay, you can take it all. Take the liquor, the cocaine, the Xanax, the Paxil. I mean, what a piece of cake that was. And then I grabbed the girl, very good-looking girl. Matter of fact, looked a lot like my wife.
That's usually how it goes. Isn't that funny?
Isn't that funny? They looked 10 years different, but my wife is a very beautiful lady, and she looks younger. And so I left to Europe, and that's when I started doing the freighters to Europe.
Had you been over to Europe a bunch before that?
No.
So you really hadn't done any business in Europe, and you just decided, well, I'm going to fly over there. We'll get
I already had some contacts, some Greek contacts that were shipping people, and I had already set that up from Panama. I set that whole European transport business from Panama.
How did you have those contacts already?
Well, I had a friend of mine that was doing a lot of business to Europe, and he had his main office in Panama, and he would ship. The ships would leave Panama, load rice in Suriname, and cross the Atlantic. That was a very hot situation, and he got in trouble with Interpol. And then what I decided to do to avoid this hot zone in the Caribbean, what I did was I would have the ships in Greece. They would come down to Brazil, pick up whatever. A lot of times it was sugar, whatever. And then go up, hit Venezuela, because Venezuela is already out of this Caribbean hot zone. The eastern part of Venezuela, next to Guyana, where the Orinoco River Delta is, and it flows out to the Atlantic. We used to go into Puerto Ordaz, pick up steel, aluminum, whatever, and then pick up that merchandise and leave. And when you leave Puerto Ordaz, see,
yeah, we have the map up here on the screen.
When you leave Puerto Ordaz and you hit the Orinoco River Delta, you're already out in the Atlantic. You're not in the Caribbean at all. You see.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
You see Trinidad, and you go towards Panama.
Yeah, zoom out.
Okay, see this guy.
Perfect.
This guy would have his ships in Panama, pick up rice in Suriname, and then head out. That's a hot zone. That whole area is a hot zone. I did it backwards. I would come from Europe, go down south to Brazil, go up. I would never come into the Caribbean. And see, when my ships left from that red dot, when they left there at 5 o'clock, by 7 o'clock, they were already out way beyond the reach of any helicopters or survey. There's nobody out there. There's Japanese fishing boats out there. There's nobody.
And this is pre Hugo Chavez and everything.
Hugo
right?
Chavez had just come in.
Oh, he had just started.
1998, yeah.
And that wasn't scary to operate out of his country?
No, it was a blessing.
Why was it a blessing?
The DEA was on its way out.
Oh, because he wasn't.
The DEA was still there because Eric Kobinski was there. But after that, the DEA got kicked out. But Venezuela was still a very good place to work from. And we had all the merchandise stashed in the Orinoco River Delta. And
wait, how would you stash it in the? What would you stash it in?
Imagine these big containers. They look like telephone booths. and you stash the merchandise in there, and you hide that underwater. They're watertight.
Underwater.
Yeah, in the delta, in swampland type. You know, it's that whole Orinoco River delta.
You thought of this? That was your idea?
No, this was thought out by somebody that worked for the organization, and they came up with the idea of using those telephone booths.
For your organization or the organizations you were moving for?
Well, the cartel that I was working for.
Oh, okay.
I was in charge of the ships from Greece.
Mm.
But they had a fishing, well, they called it a fishing camp. It wasn't a fishing camp, but they had a camp there where they stashed all the merchandise.
Mm.
Then we would come in and load up whatever, steel in Puerto Ordaz. And when we were leaving, they would hit us on the way out. We were, 3 miles off the coast. They would hit it. They would load up the ship with 4,000, 5,000, 6,000 kilos at a time. And then we would keep going. But by that time, we were way gone. So it was like working the route in reverse. Instead of starting in Panama and doing that whole hot area, because that whole area is hot as a pistol.
How did you get all your intelligence for this kind of stuff? Like, how did you know exactly where Interpol was going to be?
What was it going to be? I'm sorry.
Like where Interpol was going to be,
No.
where things were hot, like who? What were your sources?
It's that for years, I had already been working at this for 25 years. I knew that the Caribbean was a hot area. I knew my friend just got busted by Interpol.
Mm.
I knew he got hot.
Just
I knew
experience.
So I figured, why deal with that? Why be based in Panama, the hottest fucking place on earth, when I could come from Egypt? From Greece, I could load up, and go to Africa, pick up cassava, leave metals that I took from the Black Sea, go to Africa, cross Africa, go down to Brazil. I'm way out of everybody's scope of vision. Then go up to Venezuela, go into Puerto Ordaz, go out, get loaded from the fishing camp where the merchandise was at, and I'm out in the middle of the Atlantic. And that was being done with freighters.
And how big are these freighters? Like the normal ones we see at Port of Elizabeth here?
Yeah, freighters with 33,000 tons, whatever.
And then you would find certain cargo containers that you would stash everything in.
No, the freighter had a stash in it.
Oh.
We built a special stash inside the freighter.
Now, how does that work? Do you send a construction crew in the middle of the night?
A welder, and he does it.
And you pay off the people at the port, obviously. Saga po helado mo malaka. Let's go.
Well, it's done in. It's a huge ship. A lot goes on in the ship.
Yeah, but I mean, there's a welder in there, fucking welder.
Yeah, but they do that work all the time. There's, it's not like out. You're in a hidden space.
I know, but it's you don't think someone's walking by going, "Hey,
do you?
Hey, Giorgio, why are you welding fucking 100 yards worth of wall?"
He does it in a place that nobody sees him.
Well, how much coke are you putting on those ships?
5,000 kilos.
I mean, that's a lot of kilos.
Not really. You know how big those ships are?
They're huge, but like
5,000 kilos would probably fit in this room.
That's what I'm saying. There's a pretty big room. Like no one's gonna walk by that and see the guy building it.
You're inside a freighter. Have you ever been inside a freighter?
Yeah,
you get lost.
I don't think I've been inside one. No,
they're huge.
They're enormous. Yeah,
enormous.
So it's pretty easy.
Very.
Okay, I'll take your word. I mean, I've seen them. I haven't been in them.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure.
It's I mean, there's so much shit going on in any given port, and you're inside a ship. I mean, there's a whole life going on inside that ship.
So how did you set? You said you set this up from Panama before you even went over there because you had contacts.
No, I had contacts in Greece, and I was living in Panama, so I set up the whole deal of the Greeks. For example, I met the Greeks in Cancun.
Oh, you brought them over?
Yeah, and I met them in Cancun, and we started working this whole deal out.
And what was their background? Like the
Shipping.
Guys who, but was it the guys who ran the port?
One of the guys, one of my contacts was, it's in the book, Nick Fishkatori. He's half Sicilian, half Greek, old mobster from New York, from Sicily.
Wait, he's half Sicilian,
And half
what
Greek.
a combo.
And he lived in New York for many years. Old style mobster. Older. He was older already. He was older when I met him. And he introduced me to, my shipping friends. He introduced me to the shipping people in Greece.
Is this the guy you mentioned something at dinner last night? A dude who had connects to the Vatican or something? Is that the guy?
Exactly. He didn't have the connection to the Vatican. The guy he introduced me to that had the shipping companies and the shipping background and came from a very big shipping family in Greece had a partner that was connected to the Vatican, and his girlfriend was connected to the mafia in Calabria.
And
he traveled with a Vatican passport.
Which is very hard to get.
He had a Vatican passport, diplomatic Vatican passport.
That other part we talked about at dinner?
The Vatican and his group, they all had a marble concession in Venezuela. They were pulling out marble from Venezuela. So it all kind of intervened. I mean, it was interwiggled.
Got it. So that other thing you talked about and by the way, people out there, so I'm wearing headphones today, but Luis is not too. So sometimes there's a little bit of overtalk. I'm sorry about that. Usually it's not like that. But that other part you were talking about at dinner where the guy took you to his place in Milan and opened some stuff. Are you allowed to talk about that?
That's fine. I mean, I was living in Milan, and we were drinking one night, and we were in his apartment, and he opened up a closet under key and inside a safe, and he came out with this big box, and it had an outfit, red and black with actually it was like a cone shaped thing, like a Ku Klux Klan thing, but and it had holes and a mask, and he was part of a Masonic type order with the Vatican, a secret society. I don't know, but to him it was very, very secretive, and he was part of a secret order of the Vatican. And like I said, this guy, he always had a couple of bodyguards,
right?
Vatican associated. The Vatican has a bank. We all know it.
Mm-hmm.
The Vatican has business all around the world, and very connected. This guy was very connected, and it was weird because he told us that a lot of his business contacts and his connections and the way that he can do business and have so many open doors was because of this secret society, just like we have the Yale Society of Skull and Bones.
Right.
Okay, that's top-notch American, and, they've run this country for years. They've had presidents in power.
They had they had guys running against Kerry and Bush at the same time.
Bush, who was so many of them. But I remember William F. Buckley was Skull and Bones.
That's right.
So what's behind that? Who knows? I mean, we've read about it. This is a secret society. He didn't say the name, but it was a secret society. And then obviously he had very good connections, and and he had very good connections, and he was, he was no wimp. The real tough one there was his girlfriend, the Calabrian girl. She was, you could tell you didn't want to fuck around with her.
And she was connected to the Ndrita.
Yeah.
Directly. That was the hookup.
Yeah.
What was the name when Johnny Russo was in here? He's like, they meet down in the catacombs. Yeah. What was the name of that secret organization? Yeah. The Solidarity. Solidarity. Yeah, there's the Solidarity group down there. Does the Vatican run the world?
Oh, the law. Figure this out. Most people don't digest this. They're the largest single stockholder in the world. They own the most property in the world that pays no taxes. Every school, every Catholic church, figure out, I mean, there's an organization a lot deeper than them called the Solidarity.
I'm not familiar with that.
Nobody
the
is.
Solidarity.
It's about 2,000-year-old club.
It's a club.
It's a club. And it's in the catacombs of the Vatican. You know, the Vatican's a city within itself.
I know. I used to live right next to it.
Oh, well, okay.
Yeah.
Then you know.
I mean, I don't know
Most people don't know what I'm telling you.
So they meet down there, you're saying?
That's where they are. They only meet there, period.
Right. Okay.
They're very high-level profile people throughout the world. You get invited to be in it. But they're, like you said, who's running the world? I think they are.
He was killing me when he was saying that. He said that there's...
Those guys are very tight.
Yeah.
That's some serious shit right there.
He was intimating that that's like who runs things. And who
right
knows?
now, they run probably 80% of the cocaine coming into Europe.
Wait, I'm talking about the guys in the Vatican, not the Indretta.
No. The guys in the Vatican, they're their own show. They're no angels.
No, they're not. But this is interesting, though, because we started this talking about you getting this thing set up in Greece, and you hadn't operated really in Europe before. So you're operating now to be able to move cocaine internationally between South America and Europe so that you can move product for clients in South America. But that also means you're going to open up some new networks in Europe when you do this. And one of those networks is with the Calabrian Mafia, the Indretta.
No, I know they're involved, but our connection in Europe was with the people out of Galicia. Our boats would get offloaded by the Galician folks that work in Galicia.
Yeah, can we pull that up?
And the fishing boats. So our ships would be offloaded off the coast of Galicia, and they would go into Antwerp or Rotterdam empty. The merchandise would be taken off the coast of Galicia.
Could we just get the map of it?
You just want to see? Okay.
Yeah, Galicia's perfect. I just want to see it just in relative to Europe. Just
You
where
see
this
it's
is.
at northwestern coast of Spain?
Yes.
There.
Got it.
So the fishing boats would come out of Galicia, offload our boat, so then our boat would continue and enter
The Strait of
Antwerp
Gibraltar?
or Rotterdam empty.
Oh, wait, so they're staying up there. They're not coming back through the Strait of Gibraltar into Mediterranean.
No.
You'd stay away.
They get offloaded in Galicia. The merchandise would get offloaded in Galicia in alta mar, in high seas.
Yeah.
By Galician shipping vessels.
Which would be met by smaller vessels to pick it up and take it inland.
Yeah. And then our freighter would continue to the port of Rotterdam or Antwerp, which is up there in Belgium and Holland.
Yeah.
And they would arrive empty.
But where's Greece then? This is skipping Greece.
No, the boats, the office, the shipping office was in Piraeus, Greece.
Which is south of Athens.
Yeah, which is just an office.
Oh, no, you were just setting up shop in a nice spot.
Yeah. And the boat had some boats had Panamanian flags, some had flags of Malta. Registered in Malta, registered in Panama.
Why Malta?
It's an offshore place, and a lot of boats are registered, ships are registered in Malta.
God, I feel like these are the places that have the secrets of the universe. Like all the rich
Yeah,
people are
look
like,
at
oh, yeah, we go
Malta's
there.
right off the coast of Africa. It's south of Sicily.
Yeah. Did you deal with the Sicilians? I mean, you mentioned the Greek Sicilian guy, but did you deal with them?
No.
Interesting.
I mean, the American mob guys, but
Right. That's different.
look at Malta.
Yeah.
It's fucking
No
right
man-
off
no
south
man's
of
land.
Sicily, right off the coast of Africa. Malta. There you go.
Sicily's one of the most beautiful places on planet Earth.
Really, I've never been
You
there.
never been?
No.
Even when you were over there?
Nope.
I spent a lot of time there. It's incredible. I spent time in, if we stay on that map, I spent time between Catania and Messina. And then for like 5-6 days, and then I went back for 2 weeks and spent time from Palermo, Cefalù, down through the middle of the country, down to Agrigento, back up north, east of Cefalù, all those areas.
I've
It's
got to
absolutely
go.
gorgeous. It's like, it's crazy because it's so poor, and so in some ways, like, the people don't have a ton of opportunity because the mafia still runs the place, which is nuts. Like, there was one night, my girlfriend at the time and I got lost at like 1:30 in the morning on the outskirts of Catania. We were like, fuck. And ran into this dude. And at the time I could speak Italian pretty decently. I don't remember how to now, but this guy was like, oh yeah, I help. So we start walking through the street with him, and he gets us back to where we got to go. And at one point I said, you know, like, di dove sta? Are you from here originally? Like that kind of thing. And he said, yes, I love it here. I love it, but I can't wait to leave. And I was like, what? You love it, but you can't wait to leave? And he goes, yeah, I can't wait to leave. I'm like, why do you want to leave? And it was like right out of a movie scene. Like, we're on this dimly lit cobblestone, like almost back alley type spot. And he turns to me and then turns to his left, looks around with a pointer finger and points to the wall. And there's a giant graffiti that says Mafia right there. And he goes, that's why.
Oh,
And I was like, oh, okay. Fair enough. But so you never dealt with them, though?
No. I mean, Nick was half Sicilian, half Greek, but that's about it. I lived in Milan and never got a chance to go down to Sicily. But, I mean, I heard they were giving away, you know, you could buy a home for $1 and fix it up.
Oh, my God. A train ticket in Sicily is like fucking 50 cents, at least when I was there. Like,
yeah.
Like, it's very,
But
very cheap.
the Italian government had a program where you can buy a home very, very cheap.
Yeah.
And, you know, you fix it up and it's beautiful.
Yep.
I mean, the water, that I've heard.
So you were living, what was the town in Greece again called?
Buliagmeni.
But then you were also, when were you living in Milan? 99?
I only lived in Milan for 3 months in 99.
Okay.
And from Milan was that when I traveled, we were buying two more ships, and I had to travel to Venezuela because with the blueprints of the ships to see exactly where we were going to put that stash, where they were going to build that stash. And that is something that, you know, they wanted me to take it personally because, you know, you just don't tell anybody that. And they wanted to see exactly the layout of the ship to make sure it was suitable for what we needed. It was 2 new ships we were buying.
And that was...
And I didn't want to go back. I didn't want to go back to Venezuela because I figured I already crossed the Atlantic. I'm okay with my paperwork and everything in Europe. Going back to Venezuela, I had a bad feeling. Sure enough, by the time I got back, the organization had already been infiltrated and they were waiting for me. The thing is that they were waiting for a Greek guy. The infiltrator, the guy that infiltrated the organization, didn't know me. All he heard was el griego, el griego, el griego.
Because you were living in Greece.
Because I was living in Greece. And they were waiting for a Greek guy, but I showed up with a Mexican passport.
Okay. So why again did you have to live for 3 months in Milan? That's what I lost in there a little bit because I got the Venezuela connection, but...
It got a little hot in Greece. And Elias said, you know, the best thing is let's get out of Greece for a little while and let's go live in Milan.
Okay. And then that's 99. You went from Milan to Venezuela directly?
Yes.
And now were you like living in Venezuela then?
Yes.
Officially?
I was most of the time in Puerto Ordaz and then in Caracas. And then I got arrested in August of 2000.
Okay. Did you... Your girlfriend at the time, is this a new one now, not the Panamanian? Or is it...
the Panamanian girl, the day they arrested me, I never saw her again.
Right, but so she was still with you?
Yes.
Okay, so same
in
girlfriend.
Greece and in Milan yeah.
Okay, so she comes with you to Venezuela, and this is where Operation Journey gets you. This is what we've been building up to. So this is 25 years into your career. You are maybe the most respected logistics guy in the international cocaine business in existence. And you're operating out of Venezuela. Who were you, these new freighters you were looking at that you just mentioned a few minutes ago, who again were you working with on this deal? Like what cartel?
Well, it's in the book, and it's Operation Journey is in Google, but it's the Mellizos Cartel.
By the way, Pure Narco. It's the name of the book. Great book. I read about 100 pages yesterday. It's absolutely phenomenal. So everyone check that out. The link will be in the description for you to buy it in our Amazon store. Highly recommend. But anyway, well, it was...
At that time, it was the most powerful, largest cartel working in Europe, the Mellizos Cartel.
Where were they out of?
Colombia. And they were, at that point, they were working out of Barranquilla, but they're originally from Cali, from the Cali area.
But you said they were the biggest one in Europe?
They were the biggest Colombian cartel sending merchandise to Europe.
Okay.
I mean, they had that European market big time.
Now, where is, at this point, the Orihuela brothers? Have they been arrested? Is that done? The Cali cartel, have they been taken down?
They were arrested, I think, in 2003.
Okay.
They took us down in 2000. They were, I think, already arrested in Colombia, but they got taken to the U.S. I don't know when they got taken to the U.S. 2002, 2003?
Yeah,
something like that.
They were extradited in 2006 to the United States and pleaded guilty in Miami. But between June and July 1995, the remaining 6 of the 7 heads of the cartel were arrested. So they were taken down at least.
They were taken down, that's for sure.
And you
right
never...
after Pablo.
Did you work with them at all after Pablo?
No.
No.
The only Cali guy I worked with was El Mono Endo and Ivan Urdinola, but he was Northern Valley. Although very, very hooked up with Cali also, but he was Northern Valley.
Okay.
Because the cartel that took over after they took down Pablo and the Cali cartel was Northern Valley. They were the main cartel in Colombia. And I worked with them for five years or so.
Got it. So now fast forward to 2000, this Operation Journey, which you don't know is going on. It's a giant sting. This was like multiple countries, multiple agencies, right? Trying to take down this deal?
Yeah, it was 14 countries, Operation Journey. I mean, when they took us down, it was almost 25,000 kilos that was taken down over there. So Operation Journey was 14 countries, joint international task force. That's why you had customs, Colombia, Venezuela, Eric Obinsky with DEA, the Brits, the French.
Wow.
Everybody was in there because we were operating. For example, at the same time that they arrested me in Venezuela, they arrested my partners in Paris.
Oh, they were,
and they arrested the Ku Klux Klan outfit, the Milan guy with the pointed hat in Milan.
Oh shit! So this was like,
yeah, everybody got hit.
Wow,
we all got hit at the same time.
Now, how did it go down? Like you had a warning shot, right? Where some cab driver or something gave you an alert?
Our ship came into Puerto Ordaz. When that ship comes into Puerto Ordaz, there was a Russian crew on board because it was doing a legal, it was just finishing a legal route. It came from the Mediterranean, went to Africa, went down to Brazil. Then when they arrived in Puerto Ordaz, we took the Russian crew off. We put them up in the hotel we put them up in the hotel in Caracas. And then the bad crew was going to be put on. The guys that we contracted out of Bangladesh, out of Philippines. We had a guy that all he did was contract bad crews. Okay. So I go to the hotel, the Tamaraco Hotel, a few times to meet with the Greek. One of my Greek partners was there because he had to pay the Russian captain $40,000. So I go meet my Greek partner a couple times at the Tamanaco. And then one of those nights that I was leaving the Tamanaco, a taxi driver tells me, hey, didn't I pick you up here last night? I said, yeah, as a matter of fact, you did. He says, well, let me tell you something. After I picked you up, I was held by Guardia Nacional for almost 3 hours, and they were asking me about you. Supposedly, you are you're involved in the drug business, narcotics. Eres un narcotraficante. And I had my Mexican accent. No, pues, ¿cómo se te ocurre? Me vas a dar un ataque al corazón, cabrón, que como que narcotraficante. Soy un hombre de negocios aquí en Venezuela. Soy de México. You know, the whole... But I said, you know what? In Spanish, I said, this news you're giving me is really affecting me. I need some fresh air. So I gave him a tip, and I got out of the cab. At that point, I walked around a little bit. I called for another cab. I called my girlfriend, who was at the hotel, told her to set up a party that we have some friends coming, because I knew we were being watched at that point. So I wanted to look like if we were expecting some people over that night, maybe they thought that they'd be Mexicans. So I told my wife, my girlfriend, order a Mexican mariachi band because they'll probably think the fucking Mexican cartel's coming for dinner. So she was hesitant, and, you know, and I said, listen, I know what I'm telling you. Do this. Just take your jewelry and meet me, and I'll pick you up in a taxi. So I picked her up, and then I called Ivan, who was at another hotel. I said, hey, motherfucker, we're fucked. Listen to this. Pam, pam, pam. He didn't want to believe me either. But bottom line is, we all got in a cab and we took off to the airport in Caracas, which is Maiquetía, which is about an hour and a half away. From there, the next morning, we took off to Maracaibo because I knew they were after us. So we stayed 2 or 3 days in Maracaibo because I had lost my passport. I think they had stolen it. DEA, somebody had taken my passport. Very strange for me.
Like broken into your place?
Yeah, very strange for me not to have a passport. So I had to call the lady that had all my passports in Guatemala for her to travel to Venezuela with my new Mexican passport so I can cross the border into Colombia. During those days that we were in Maracaibo, they must have triangulated phone calls and this shit and that shit. So they mobilized from Caracas, and they flew in some helicopters with some National Guards, and they located us in Maracaibo. And then that's when, you know, I was, you know, ready to take a taxi in 3 hours to cross the border to Mayo, Colombia. And I was in a barbershop, you know, shaving my beard so I would look differently. And that's when they came in and said, no está bajo arresto, pero está bajo sospecha de narcotráfico. Necesita venir con nosotros. You're not under arrest, but you're under suspicion of narco trafficking, and you need to come with us. And that's when they picked me up at the barbershop. And that's when they took me into the police station. They said, where's the merchandise? If you don't tell us where the merchandise is, we're going to cut you up with a bisturi, you know, the surgeon's knife.
Yeah.
What they use.
These are the Venezuelans, right?
Yeah.
So
they were playing good cop, bad cop. The Colombian cop was a good cop, and the Venezuelan was, if you don't tell us where the money is, where the merchandise is, we're going to cut you up. They even sat me and strapped me onto a steel chair that was nailed down to a concrete slab inside a room that was painted white, but it was smeared with blood. And they kept saying, we're going to cut you up, motherfucker. We're going to cut you up. And for some reason, I knew it wasn't true.
But you had been scared before this. This was one of the two moments you said where you did have fear. Like, if I get caught by the Venezuelans, they're going to fucking torture me.
Yeah, that was... No, this time... There's too many people, you know. I knew I was shit out of luck. But I still thought we could buy our way out. And I kept saying to the Colombian guy, hey, we got $1 million we can give you. We got $2 million. I mean, all it takes is a few days. We can get this money together and let us go. And that's when I was sitting in the Suburban, and he tells me, you know, it's a little too late. And then I was sitting in the back seat of a Suburban in front of the police station in Maracaibo. And suddenly I look to my right, and out of the windshield, I see these pair of skinny, long legs and shorts. And I look a little better, and I see, what, a really tall guy wearing a Hawaiian shirt. That's when I said, we're fucked. There's no $2 million. There's no $1 million. There's no paying nobody off. The gringos are here. And that's when Eric Kolbinski walked in and sat right next to me in the back of the Suburban with his shorts and his Hawaiian shirt and his flip-flops. Says, hi, I'm Eric Kolbinski with DEA.
It's nice to meet you.
Fuck. You are Mr. Luis Navia. You are not a Mexican. And I go, pues, ¿cómo eso es un error? Yo soy mexicano. Do you want to stay here in a Venezuelan jail? Pues, eso es una equivocación. Yo soy mexicano. Soy un empresario.
You're still in game mode. You're still like good.
And he said, you know what? We really don't have that much time to stay here and talk about if you're Venezuelan, Mexican, Cuban, Hawaiian, or whatever the hell you want to be. But I'm going to clarify this real quick. He got on the phone and he called Bob Harley in Key West. And he goes, Mr. Navia, we know exactly who you are. Your mother lives at 315 Cypress Drive, Key Biscayne, Florida. We've been there. We know you went to Georgetown University. Oh, shit. How about that? How informative.
I was unfamiliar with your game.
I was unaware. So I would suggest you cooperate and you peacefully go along with a gentleman that's next to you that, by the way, works for the DEA, and you'll be coming to Florida soon.
What was your feeling when that happened? Was there fear? Was there relief? Was there a little bit of both? What was the vibe?
It wasn't as bad as I thought it would be. If you would have told me, listen, how do you think you'd feel that if you ever got arrested? I'd say, oh, fuck, the world's going to end. I'd fucking... Nothing. I was just there, and I was sitting there, and I was thinking, wow, I'm in some deep shit. And then they took us up to a military outpost they have outside of Caracas up in the hills. And then I started seeing these military convoy trucks coming in with a bunch of fucking cocaine. And it's all our duffel bags and more and more and more. And then I said, you know, that's it. We're going, you know, they're taking us to the U.S. So,
do you think you were going to spend the rest of your life in prison?
Yeah.
And you came to peace for that, with that.
I didn't know. I mean, I didn't know what the hell was going to happen, but somehow or the other, there must have been somewhere in my brain that told me that things were going to get resolved. Because if not, I think I would have just had a nervous breakdown. And I didn't. So when they told me we were going to the U.S., I said, well, fuck, I can't go looking like this. I haven't taken a shower in 2 days, this and that. I need some new clothes. I'm not going to show up in the U.S. looking like a bum. So I had I had money in my pocket. So I had one of the guards, one of the military, go out and get me some nice khakis, a white polo shirt. and I had my topsiders. I said, if I'm going back to the U.S., I don't want to look like a bum. I told Ivan, look at you, man. You're in shorts, a fucking hat. Take a shower. You're going to look like... We're going to the U.S., motherfucker. We're not going to Kenya. And he was freaking out. He was really freaking out. And then I said, well, this is the last night we're going to spend. So, you know, I gave the captain $200, and I asked, let me sleep in your room that has an air conditioner, because that's the last time I'm going to be with my girlfriend.
You do it?
Yeah. The Venezuelan captain. And I slept in his bedroom there at the military outpost that had an air conditioner, because that's the last time I was going to see my girlfriend.
Oh, she came by.
She was with me. She was arrested with me.
Oh, she was arrested with you. Okay.
Then when Eric came in with the U.S. not the U.S. Marshals met us at the airport. They put me in the Suburban, and they took me away, and they took Shirley to the airport, and they sent her to Panama because they didn't have anything against her. Mm. And then the U.S. Marshals came, and then they handcuffed me.
Hey guys, if you have a second, please be sure to share this episode around on social media and with your friends, whether it's Reddit, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, doesn't matter. It's all a huge help. It gets new eyeballs on the show, and it allows us to grow and survive. So thank you to all of you who have already been doing that, and thank you to all of you who are going to do so now. Okay. So the jig is up at this point. You're going back to the U.S. You think you might be going for life because you got caught trafficking on this deal 25 tons of cocaine, right?
Yep.
That's
and
a lot.
I didn't know the guidelines and all that. And I knew I was being brought over for the old Key West indictment, which was 4,600 kilos. But basically, I knew I was going to do a lot of time. I didn't really know how the system worked, but I knew I was going to do some time. That's for sure.
Well, you had left. I'm just thinking about this out loud. Like, you left in 88. Your father had died in 83.
82. Yeah.
82. Your mom's still living in the U.S., as you mentioned a few minutes ago.
I got arrested on my birthday. It made the papers on my birthday.
So, you didn't see your mom again after 1988?
I saw her once or twice. She went to Bogota to see me.
Okay.
It was a real pain to see them. I had to move them around a lot because, I didn't want them being followed.
Right.
Yeah. So, and things were getting more complicated as the years went by. It was more complicated, especially when I moved to Europe. Last time I saw my wife, I saw her in Barcelona. It was a pain in the ass to get her there with the kids and this and going through, it was just getting more and more difficult. My world was getting a lot smaller.
What did your mom think of what you did? Did she know?
She didn't really want to know the details. She knew I was not in anything legal. She was always telling me to change lifestyles and change and just leave all this other stuff behind and settle down.
Did you ever seriously... you mentioned the sugar plantations in 1983, but outside of that, was there ever a point where you stopped and took a breath and were like, maybe I could get out?
Never. Thing is, what keeps you in are your commitments, you see? And in my business, I was constantly committing to more and more. I'd finish one deal, and I already had a commitment to go to another one. So you're always involved in a deal. A deal is always going on, so you're committed. So it's not like you stop and you cut everything and disappear. So, and I liked my business. I liked what I did. I liked my business. I enjoyed it, and I really had plans to grow it bigger and bigger. I mean, how much bigger can you get? I mean, I was doing freighters, but then I was already thinking these freighters are a fuck up, the paper trail. So now I'm going to build these not high speed, but powerful, open fishermen. And instead of having a freighter with 30 guys on them and payroll and fuel bills, 4 guys, they deliver the shit, they sink the boat, I bring them back. Simplify the operation.
You wanted to get to that.
Because I knew the problem with the freighters. I knew that the paper trail was eventually going to get us. And what got us was that we got infiltrated.
And how did that? What happened there? What was the infiltration?
Some idiot got recruited into the organization. Some guy that should have never been recruited got recruited into the organization as a gopher. But this gopher had a daughter that was studying in the U.S., so he decided to go visit his daughter in the U.S., and U.S. law enforcement already had an eye on him, grabbed him at the airport, and said, we know this, and that. And if you don't cooperate, we're going to fuck you right now, and you're going to stay here forever. So they flipped him. So when he went back to Colombia, he was already flipped and cooperating, and I didn't know him.
And he just thought you were the Greek.
Yeah, I was a Greek. But the organization was already... When I got to Venezuela, we were already compromised.
Did you ever think about, at the outset of our conversation, like at the very beginning, and it started to go to this, and I didn't want to go there yet because I really wanted people to get some background on you and your story, but did you ever think about like the morality of what you did? Because it's not like you were on the end of it dealing the drugs, but you were facilitating drugs around the world that people were going to use and abuse. Was that ever a moral question for you?
No.
Why not?
I didn't think there was anything wrong with what I was doing.
Why not?
I mean, it's illegal because the U.S. government says it's illegal. I think they're mistaken. I think that should be legal. Why is liquor? They decided liquor to be illegal during Prohibition. Right. Huge mistake. Then they legalized it. You know how many people are still in jail for pot? Mm-hmm. And now they decide to legalize it? You know, my thing was not a morality thing. I think I was very honest in all my years. And what I did was illegal, but not immoral. At least I think so. Because, you know, what I did time for something that may be legal tomorrow. I think it should be legal. I think the solution...
You're in favor of legalizing all drugs?
Without a doubt. I think it's the only way to solve the problem. There's always going to be a problem. There's always going to be something new. But this cocaine thing, it's gotten to be, you know, the war, it's a lost war. The cause, I mean, it's down the drain. I mean, if you legalize it, you're going to be able to control it. You're going to put a lot of people out of business, a lot of agencies out of business. So, you know, basically this has grown so big that it's just a synergy between the good guys and the bad guys. But that snowball is so huge and it's getting bigger.
What do you mean it's a synergy between the good guys and bad guys?
Yeah, the DEA survives because the cartels exist. The cartels exist, you know, not because the DEA exists, but, you know.
Cop needs a criminal, criminal needs a cop.
You know, how are cases done? You know, if you do regular police work, you'll never catch a guy like me. Now, you sit down with a person like me and you talk to me for an hour and you'll find out a lot more than police work will do in 10 years. So I just think that, you know, cops and robbers is not working. You know, this drug war is a fiasco. There's got to be a better way to do it. And legalizing it, you're going to control it. Just like alcohol. I mean, imagine if you had to buy liquor from your neighbor that, you know, made it last night in his bathtub. You'd probably end up dead. Just like right now, you don't know what you're buying. You're buying fentanyl, thinking it's cocaine, and people end up dead. Making it illegal is just making the cartels more powerful. Without a doubt. The day it's legal, and you can buy a bottle of Johnny Walker Blue, and you can buy a nice gram of cocaine that you know it's pure, it's less harmful to you, and there's no cartel involved.
All right, but what about the nature of the fact that because the government did declare it illegal, we can argue over how to properly legislate drugs and whether or not we're doing that correctly. I certainly think we're doing a lot wrong, so you have some points there. But seeing as it was illegal, the marketplace that you have is run by outlaws. It's run by people who will kill on command. They will kill other people involved. Sometimes they sprayed that over to people because they're violent people in many cases. They sprayed that over to people who aren't involved. You then are moving product that might also, you know, it's not like it's checked for quality all the time, and it may be going to specific places. Like cocaine in this case is like considered the rich person's drug, but then it gets disintegrated down into crack and they move it into poor neighborhoods and create cycles of addiction. You never thought about any of this?
No. Because, so, you know, look at what happened in Gaza. They just bombed a food place. There's collateral damage and everything. Oxycontin. Look at what the Sackler brothers did.
FDA approved too.
FDA approved. I mean, collateral damage, war is legal. And we get involved in war all the time. And I mean, I didn't think about it. I really didn't. I was running a business like it was coffee, whatever.
But when you say those things like bombs in Gaza or the Sacklers putting opiates out there, the connotation I'm taking from how you're saying that is that the people doing that are able to do that and it's not good. It's evil. So if you are doing that and making money on it, aren't you the same?
Yes, you are right. That's a good point. Okay. What I'm doing it's not right because it's a drug. It alters your personality. It can kill you. It involves people that are associated that are not good people. Yes, that's wrong. But did I think about it? No. Did I wake up every morning and have a guilt trip about it? No. People got killed? Yes. A lot of them had it coming to them. Most of them died of natural causes, natural to the business they were in. But did I think about it? No. I was very in tune with the business itself and building it up, and maybe, amoral in that sense. I really didn't. I thought it was the coolest business in the world. I thought it was and like I said, I'm completely mistaken. Maybe, I mean, I don't think I'm very normal in that sense. But
do you wish you had done something else?
Now looking back, yes, I wish I would have stopped. My biggest crime was continuing in the business after my daughter was born, because that you should not inflict on anybody you love. Okay, my mom and dad, they're my mom and dad, and I came out to be some kind of a rogue son. But when my daughter was born, I should have quit with what I had, maybe opened up a couple of Burger King franchises or a coffee business. God knows I had opportunities, and I'm not stupid. And it's not the only thing I know how to do. It's, logistically move drugs. But I should have never, I've been so fortunate that nothing happened to them, because they could have been caught up. Look,
sure.
I was kidnapped 3 times. I could have, 2 of them, I already had kids. I could have not come home. That's a really fucked up thing to do to your kids, is not come home. Yeah. So that's my biggest crime, was staying in the business after my daughter was born. I should have been mature enough to back away and say, I've been blessed. Thank you, Lord, for giving me the opportunity, although it was not the best thing in the world and it was a drug that has its bad things, but I should have quit. I should have quit way before.
Are you a religious guy? Like, do you believe in God?
Oh, without a doubt, I believe in God.
Have you always been that way?
I've always believed in God, but now more than ever, because I've personally seen it. What happened to me cannot happen to me just because of me. There has to be a higher force involved in my life, because
I think I agree with you.
What happened to me could not have happened to me just because of me.
Yeah.
Because me is not strong enough to have dealt with all this shit. What I feared most was going to jail. And going to jail was fun as hell. I mean, I played the drums, I worked out, I lost weight, I went to sleep every day at the same time. I woke up, I hung out with a bunch of guys. All we did was bullshit all day. Okay, I wasn't in a Supermax, Charles Manson facility.
You were a Coleman, though, right?
Yeah, I was a Coleman. But what I feared the most turned out to be not as bad. And it's not because of me. It's because I really believe that there's somebody up there that has some pity or some love or something for me that's made this work out much better than if I would have been handling things on my own.
All right, so let me ask you a hard question then. That same God that may feel pity and look out for you and appreciate that you believe in that power that's there in this scenario, if that's what you believe. What do you think he would think, though, about the amoral equation of, or amoral stance of feeling like what you did is fine because somebody's got to do it, which could include other people who are under his jurisdiction getting hurt on the other end?
I mean, that's I don't even know how to answer that, because how do we know he's not pro-legalizing this? You know, how do we know that he doesn't think that it's the other people that are messed up, that have created a game board that is totally messed up? And if it would have been legal, I would have never gotten involved in it.
Now, that's interesting. Why do you say that?
Because there's no money in it.
But there's a lot of money in pharmaceuticals, and that's legal.
Yeah, but I'm not going to get involved and start competing against Pfizer. I'm not going to be a drug salesman from office to office selling, you know, Xanax to doctors. That's not me. Mm-hmm. I never wanted. See, I'm more like a pirate type soul, that what I'm looking for is freedom in what I do. And, you know, getting involved in the pharmaceutical business, might as well be an attorney, might as well be an accountant. I got involved in this really because it was illegal and it was a lot of money, and I could do it my way. And
the thrill,
the power. I met people that had a huge impact on me. It could have been different. I mean, I could have lasted 2 days. I could have met somebody and I could have been killed the second day I met Poli, for example. But it's just one thing led to the other, and I had the path that was laid out. You know, I was able to deal with the bumps and the turns, and it's something that, like I said, I fell into a groove that worked out for me, and I did not succeed, and that groove did not last 25 years because of tricks or magic. It was just my charm and my personality and learning. Every day was a learning experience, because you have to learn, and you've got to be aware of your surroundings, and you cannot be totally foreign to the person that's in front of you. You know, these people require a delicate handling. You know, you can't sit with people like Ivan Urdinola and Rasguño and Pablo and the other Pablo and not know exactly who you're dealing with and what they're capable of and how to approach that. A lot of people are dead because of saying the wrong thing at the wrong time. So you have to really think. I've always been a thinker, but I mean, this whole morality thing, you're right. I can see your point. But did I think about that cocaine was a bad thing? Cocaine it's just another commodity in the world that's being misused, and it's been labeled as illegal, and that it's good? No, it's not good. I would not want my kid to be snorting coke.
You wouldn't?
No, of course not. I wouldn't even want them to drink. I don't think kids should drink until they've already got money and they're at least 25 years old and your brain is somewhat developed. Liquor in the brain of a young person will distort his thinking, his emotions, everything. Liquor is not good for the human body and the human brain, especially when you're young. You should drink once you're rich and you can afford to do whatever. But if you're trying to work, trying to get ahead, and drinking, it's not a good mix. And it's very accepted in our society. And that's why you have alcoholics that drink every day and go to work the next day. But I mean, just because one thing is bad doesn't mean you know, this is good or bad.
I got you.
But no, I never thought about, you know, that what I was doing was bad.
Well, you talk about that.
It was bad towards my family, for example.
Right,
That it
what
was.
you were saying. Yeah.
Yeah. My lifestyle, the worst part of all this was my lifestyle. That I wasn't mature enough to regulate my lifestyle.
In what ways?
I was just like my personality, you know, I'm pedal to the metal on everything. So, you know, when it's time to party, it's time to burn down the house.
Right.
And I should have just curbed all that. When it's time to get into this business, it's take it to the limit. You know, I started this and I freighters, and after freighters, I wanted the boats, and after that, you know, who knows? Spaceships. You know, that's my nature. I take everything to the limit.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's not the best. It's not the worst. It's not the best, but it is what it is.
Well, you talk about how all, you know, lasting 25 years and surviving and being across so many people, including so many who were dangerous, and having them like you and whatever. There's something about you that was beyond just your skill and your ability to do what you did that made people not only trust you, but keep you around and never be like, it's time for him to go. But like in your personal life, maybe this is a better way to go about it than thinking about just the most hardened drug dealers to ever live. But like, you know, when you met your wife, what did she love about you? Like, how did you win her over? What in your personality did that? Because I wonder if it's similar to those things that may have won over some of these guys you were doing business with over the years.
Question. Persistence. I bothered her until she said yes. I was persistent. I've always been persistent. I met her in Santa Marta, and I was with a friend, and I saw this girl walking into the beach, into the ocean. It was a shallow beach, and she was wearing a bikini, and she had blonde hair, and I saw her from the back, and I said, the day I have a Colombian girlfriend, I want her to be exactly like her. And then when she came out of the water, I went and I approached her, and I started talking to her. At first, she didn't like me. I was older than her. I was like 13, 15 years older than her. But then I just persistent because I really liked her.
Were you charming her?
Always. Charm goes a long way. And finally, I've been blessed. That's another thing. I've been blessed with having her as the mother of my kids.
And you're really close with her today, as we were saying.
Yes, very close.
That's pretty cool.
And she saved my life. If it wouldn't have been for her, maybe Razgun or somebody, a lot had to do with concern for her and respect for her.
What do you mean?
That they knew that she was a very nice lady, and they also, there's another reason why, for example, Razgun let me go. And it's because he knows I'm not violent. He knows that I wouldn't make $20 million tomorrow and use that $20 million to wage war. So that's another key thing, because no matter what, if you're a violent person, they don't let you go, because they know that you could turn that violence against them.
That's right.
As revenge. And they let me go, and I went into the guy's hotel. So,
but that's also some balls too. Like we can't lose that in the equation. You had like this almost like affable, aloof set of balls, and it was probably on purpose. So it probably wasn't, but it almost comes across like they're just like, this motherfucker. Like,
no,
what?
It's crazy.
What? He's out of his mind.
Out of his mind. Yeah. But that's a question that I don't know if it'll ever be answered, or I don't know if I'll ever have the answer about that morality, because, you know, and I hate to say, compare it to like, well, shit, cars kill people too. Alcohol kills people. No, that's not the right attitude.
Yeah.
The attitude is, it's wrong, okay? It's wrong to the extent that God bless, I would hate for my kid to do cocaine, or my son or my daughter or anything. I mean, it's a terrible thing. It's a terrible thing. But being so terrible, we should be able to control it.
Yeah.
Right now, it's just out there. It's out there, and we have nothing to say. So it's really bad.
Yeah, and to your point, and this has to be said, there's legalized cartels too. You mentioned it yourself. You look at what the Sacklers did. That's a legalized cartel, and they killed. And I don't even mind saying this. Like, give me cocaine over what they did to people all day. I mean, my God, it's just like the worst. They got people on the worst type of drug that just, I just lost someone to it again. It's fucking crazy.
My cousin, my second cousin, the son of my first cousin, died as a result. He was not a drug addict. Just so happens one night they were out partying with a group of friends and they decided to buy a gram.
Yep.
Had fentanyl. He died.
Oh my God. Yeah. When you were doing this, fentanyl wasn't a thing.
No.
That became a thing in like the last decade and a half or so, right?
Yeah.
How would you have dealt with that? Like if you were in the business today?
No. I wouldn't have done. There's I never got involved in the heroin. Once we transported 5 kilos of heroin. It's called Fercho in that book, but never. My thing was coke, and I did it myself. I mean, I saw it, not to justify it. That's part of what really screwed up my life. The partying and the drinking and the snorting and shit like that. But the fentanyl, right now, that's just poison. I mean, I snorted all my life and never really. I mean, I'm not justifying it, but I'm just saying fentanyl.
Oh, it's a whole different ballgame.
Is a different ballgame.
And now you have like it's like an international underground war too. You have a lot of fentanyl being produced in China that finds its way into Mexico, that then finds its way somehow cut into the product, that then gets its way across the border, and then people are snorting it. And now it's also just sold straight as fentanyl too, and people are addicted to it and buy it.
And they have their thing of a narco or whatever.
Narcan, yeah.
And they know that they're going to go out that night, and they know that they're going to go and overdo it and just relive themselves. Now, fentanyl is 100 times more powerful than heroin. They put it in there, so they have to put less heroin, and and it's cheaper.
It's cheaper, yeah.
But it's just gotten totally out of control. That's why I think it comes a point that you have to start controlling this because it's out there.
You ever see Tommy G's YouTube channel, The Documentarian?
No.
He's a friend of mine. He was just on the show, but he just put out I think it was like a 30-minute doc on fentanyl. Yeah. I was just, I've watched this stuff before, but now also seeing someone I know go in and go to these places and investigate it and do it, it hit home a little more for me. I'd highly recommend that for people, but it's just such a growing problem. And to your point, when you talk about legalization, it's a very messy proposition, of course, because it's like, pulling off a Band-Aid very fast, way worse than a Band-Aid, very fast, like tape all over your skin. But you wonder if it might actually, if something like that would decrease the ability for people to abuse fentanyl or something. Like, would I rather see it? I don't want people abusing drugs at all, but are there other drugs I'd rather see them abuse than that? Yeah, I mean, it's certainly a question to ask.
It's all about our system, education. It's, drugs, alcohol, it's just a matter of getting people educated so that nobody desires. But that's it's impossible.
Yeah.
It's impossible.
It's very hard.
What can I tell you? And it's to legalize this, forget it. It's politically, no politician wants to get involved in saying that kind of shit.
That's the problem.
It's a very nasty world. And every day it's getting nastier. I mean, it was nasty when I was in it. It's just getting nastier, though. I do believe that this whole cocaine cartel, criminal enterprise, drug world is getting nastier by the day.
Do you still talk with people in that world a lot who are actively in it?
No, I really don't.
But you talk with guys who used to be in it?
Yeah, that used to be in it, yes. And let me tell you, it's not because I was in it. No. The fact is that when all this started, it started with marijuana.
Yeah.
And that was very mellow.
Yeah, easy.
And then compared to what's happening now, even the cocaine days were mellower.
Agreed.
Even though you had the cocaine cowboys in Miami, that was taken care of really quick. But now it's just gotten so nasty, nastier all across the board. I mean, it's just getting worse and worse and worse. What's the solution? I don't know. Because legalization, it's possible, but it's very, very difficult.
Absolutely.
To pull this out. It's just too many vested interests that I don't even want to get into that.
Yeah.
So that's why this ball of wax is just getting bigger, and the synergy is getting bigger, and it's just getting nastier, and it's just, I truly believe it's getting worse and worse and worse. When it started, it was pot. People thought that was bad. Look at the shit that's going on now.
Yeah, it's cultural though too. I mean, I grew up, my best friend since I was 4 years old is Greek, and he's a dual citizen, right? So he would live in Greece in the summers. There's no drinking age there. So there was no, those kids, there was no allure of the, oh, I got to drink because that's forbidden. It was just like, oh, yeah, that's there.
Different
so they did,
cultural.
And they didn't abuse it.
Exactly.
But now think about it. If you went to change that overnight, like in America, you'd have an 18, 20-year adjustment period where people would still look at it that way and abuse the fuck out of it. You know what I mean? It's like you're stuck on the train, so you can't really get off the train, even if it's the move to make, because the cost of getting off it is, in this case, maybe eliminating a drinking age or something, would be so astronomically high that no one wants to do it.
We'd rather continue down this crooked road than to fix the road. It's just, I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. And I tell you, cocaine, you buy up all the cocaine. It's not like it just grows on. It does grow on trees, but there's a limited supply.
Yeah.
You know, you can actually economically control it by buying the limited supply. But then you have so many additional problems that come along with that. It's crazy.
Yeah, and they'll just find something else too. Like when you talk about your career though, with your kids, do you a lot? Like is that a conversation? Do you talk about your past with them, and what do they think about it, if so?
You know, I do. It is what it is. They don't say it was right. They just accept it, and now they are happy that I've been able to change my lifestyle. And they are very grateful to the U.S. government for pulling me out, because I would have never done it on my own. I would have died. You know, I would have probably lived two more years. I probably would have lasted 3 years the way I was going. Either gotten killed or had a heart attack. So, yeah, my kids don't approve of what I did. They know it's real. They accept it, and they said that they're very proud that I quit and I never went back. And you know, I work at what I do now, and I try to be as good as a parent as possible. But that I had a bad, a bad choice of careers early in life that they do. It was a mistake. And, you know, I didn't see them for years because of this. So.
Yeah, we kind of left off there, like when you got caught and sent back to the U.S. We left off like when you were about to get on the plane to do it. But you get flown back to Miami, is that right?
Yes, Fort Lauderdale International.
Okay. You get off, the media's there, take pictures of you and everything, and you at this point think they got you on 25 tons of cocaine on a deal. You don't know how it works, as you said, but you're assuming you're looking at maybe life in prison. What happened next, and how soon did you turn on to Team America here?
Well, I didn't really know how it worked, and I told my first attorney, listen, I'll do 10 years. I'll do 10 years solid, okay? Just I need to keep some of the money, but I'll do a solid 10 years. And they look at me like saying, do a solid 10 years and keep some of the money. I mean, that won't even happen if you cooperate. You're going to do life. If you don't cooperate, you're going to do life. Number one, they've got the merchandise. This is not a conspiracy case. There's 25 tons of cocaine and there's 4,600 kilos from the Keys. Plus, there's 50 guys in the system that are willing to testify against you. So, you don't have a chance. If you go to trial, you are going to get reamed with life, 30 years, 33 years. You're going to get clobbered because you have 2 indictments. You're dead. So that's when I started saying, okay, so what's the deal? Thank God a lot of my stuff was historical because I had been involved for so long. And Operation Journey, that was not a result of my cooperation. That was that they were infiltrated, and Operation Journey, that wasn't my fault. I was a victim of Operation Journey. I wasn't the one that was the guy who infiltrated the organization and took it down. So a lot of my information was historical because a lot of years had gone by. But it was a no-brainer, and also it happened at a time. This is a Colombian thing. The business is basically has always been run by Colombia. Mm-hmm. And in 1998, the head of the Colombian cartels met with the DEA in Panama, and that's also on Google, Baruch Vega. And they met in Panama, and they started to talk about cooperation and doing less time and giving themselves up. Mm. So since 1998, there started to be an air of cooperation between the cartels and the DEA. Mm. So when I got caught in the year 2000, cooperation was already part of the Colombian way of doing things. So we're not part of any yakuza or nothing. We're here to make money, and you can't make money while you're sitting in jail for 30 years. So cooperation is part of the business model, let's say.
What came first, though? When we were talking at dinner last night, you mentioned there was like a time where they sent in like 25 agency guys they didn't even give ID on what they were from. They were from all the spy agencies and whatever. Does that happen after you've already agreed to do a deal, or is that a part of the contingent to see if they're going to do a deal?
No, that's after you sign your proffer agreement.
Okay.
Yeah, and then they come in. The thing is that, we were taking this to the next level. Like, I was thinking of doing these fast boats to replace the freighters. But after the fast boats, I was already thinking, why the fucking fast boats? Why cross the Atlantic? Why don't we start growing this shit in Africa? And I'm serious. We had plans to start buying land and growing this in Africa. Yeah. Can you imagine the cluster dealing with African warlords and arming them with this powerful money-making? This would have been a major cluster. You know what?
Well, they do that like crazy today, right? There is an enormous trafficking ring that starts with Hezbollah, the group funded by Iran, the terror group, and they run, it's like a used car thing. They run used cars through the United States, launder them through South America, I think it's Mexico, but I'll just say South America in general, and send it through West Africa. And they like pack cocaine into these used cars and shit, and that's what funds Hezbollah. And they're working with the West African countries right there.
Well, I know that West African countries, landing plane loads of cocaine in Guinea-Bissau. And that's been a route that's been used for years. Even when I was around, there was plane loads being sent to West Africa. But we were planning on growing it there to avoid the plane loads. I mean, crazy stuff.
Yeah.
So even the French got really scared when we started to say that, that we were planning to grow it there, and everybody came down. The Brits, the French.
They were all in the room there.
Yeah.
Whoa. Now, the deal you made, was it specifically for like, I'm going to get 5 years in prison or something like that?
No, I got 11. And then, you do 85% of your time. Then.
But you only did like 5, right?
Yeah, because the rest is a Rule 35 that you provide additional cooperation after sentencing, and you get a reduction.
Okay, that's what. Yeah. So you just missed my friend Matt Cox at Coleman. He was there. When did he go into Leslie? Like 07, something like that. 06, 07?
Yeah.
I want to say. So you got out in 2005, but he was the same thing. Like he went in there, he was sentenced to like 26. He ended up doing 13 because he helped the government on stuff.
Also, no violence helps.
Yeah.
If I would have had some violence, it would have been a different story.
For sure. So you get in there, and what was that when you're talking with all these agencies, you're letting them know about the Africa plan? What other kinds of things did you talk about with them?
Just in general, how everything's done. They're very interested in, how the shipping, how you recruit, in the countries, the whole logistics of the operation, how the boats are bought, the funneling of the money, the laundering of the money, all that kind of stuff.
Okay. And then you end up going to Coleman for 5. Were you in there with anyone cool? Were you friends with anyone we would know?
Crazies. Yeah, we had a great, Coleman, it's all about time. A guy that's doing 27 years is not in the same frame of mind as a guy that's doing 5.
Right.
So you can't mix them up, because the guy that's doing 27, puts his head on his pillow every night. 27 is a hair. That's why my first year at the building, at the federal building, was a tough one, because I was still looking at 30 years. It takes a year for you to start ironing it all out. And then you get sent away to prison. So you get sent away to prison based on your level of violence and how much time you have. You can't put a guy that's going to do 3 years with a guy that's doing 30, or a violent guy. So, but in Coleman, it was, federal time. I think anybody can do. Federal time is good time. Okay,
it's good time.
Yeah, it's.
That's a new one.
I mean, it's not great to go to jail, but I exercised. I respected everybody. I didn't, disrespect anybody. There's a code of respect. I kept busy playing the drums. I'm going to take a quick...
Oh, yeah. Let's stop for 1 sec for a quick break. All right, we're back. What I wanted to ask, though, is, right when we were going to break, is, were you worried about reprisal, though, from anyone connected to the cartels or something because you had cooperated on your sentence? I know you had mentioned that in Colombia there had been a thing between the DEA and the Colombians, that this was starting to become a thing, but I got to still think there's a lot of people who are inside it, who haven't cooperated, who would be pissed that, someone like turned on some other people within the operation.
Well, my case, once again, it was a little different. I had my family living in Mexico. And when I realized that to do 10 years and to come out of this half-assed good, in a good way, I was going to have to cooperate. I had my wife go to Colombia and talk to some of my partners that were still out there. Yeah, she's got some balls on her.
Yeah, I'll say. Christ.
So she went to Colombia.
Ex-wife at this point.
My ex-wife. I'm telling you, if there's a hero in this story, it's her. This is just one more time that she just went to bat full on. Nobody does this. She went to Colombia and she spoke to a few of my associates that I've mentioned and some that I haven't. And she said, look, he's been caught. We all know that. And he's probably looking at 30 years. Now, he has an option to cooperate, but he wants me to come down here, and he wants to be very, open about this. If he has to do 30 years because I'm going to get killed and the kids are going to get killed and this is going to be a major clusterfuck, he's going to call it quits, and he'll do his 30 years. He'll take his lick because that's what it is. Obviously, he can't cooperate if something's going to happen to his family. They told her, listen, he's worked with us for years and years and years. We've all made a lot of money. We're all going down the same path. This is over. There's nothing new. This shit is over. I mean, if we don't get, we're probably going to end up in the same place he's going to end up. This is
how magnanimous.
I mean, and they did. They spoke to her and they said, let him do what he needs to do to get out.
And who was it specifically in Colombia she was talking to again?
Well, she talked to Mickey. She talked to Raz. She spoke to Papito. And who else was it? One of them didn't show up. Who was it that was on there? One of them. But she spoke to three of the major persons I was working with. And they told her that for me to do whatever I needed to do, because, we all have to deal with this situation on our own ways, that there's no reprisal. There's nobody's going to go after her. She lived in Mexico. She didn't live in the U.S. So she didn't have a visa. They had taken her visa away.
Mm.
Well, they took, yeah. And so I got the okay from that angle because I was very worried. I didn't know what to do. I mean, how the hell am I going to embark on this crazy situation of debriefing with these people and then having a major problem with my family?
Right.
And then I asked them, is there any way, I was owed about $7 million. And is there any way you can get some of that? No, the money part, forget about that. That's a big zero on that. Just have him do whatever he can to get out. We're each going to fight our own battles when it comes to the U.S. government because we each have a different situation. But whatever he has to do to, clean his deal, go ahead.
Did you, I'm trying to think, because you had family money too when your father died, right? So when they seized your assets, I would imagine they seized pretty much everything that was illegal, but you still had money, no?
You see, my mother lived in the same house on Key Biscayne. I could have taken my money and bought her a mansion. I could have added three new floors to her old house, but I didn't want any of that. Thinking ahead, I said, if I ever have a problem, they can't say that any of my money went into her properties or anything. So thank God she never needed my money because she had her own. So I never mixed apples and oranges.
But you had money for your family then while you were gone, and you had money when you came out of prison. You just didn't have as much money because they took the illegal stuff.
When my dad passed away and I stayed in the sugar business a few more years, we liquidated all of my dad's holdings, and that went straight to my mom. I didn't need it. So I gave it all to her.
Okay.
I didn't need it. So she had her own money.
Is your mom still around today?
No, she passed away in 2017.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
Was it 2017?
But point being, there was at least money in the family. Like you weren't left destitute by this.
By what happened to me?
Yeah.
Well, yes. I mean, they had money, but I also had some of mine.
You still had some?
I was allowed to keep some of it.
Who were your agents? I want to deal with them if I ever get in trouble.
No. I mean, it's not like that. It's not like that. But, it's not like I go out and buy a Ferrari or anything. Right. But, my wife was allowed to keep her apartment and another property and this and that.
Okay. So something. And how quickly, because some of these guys like the
Oh,
agent
I
from
had the best agents.
Yeah, you're like friends with them today.
I fell in good hands. That's very important too. You can fall into the hands of some real idiots. And these were tough guys. Bob Harley and Eric Olbinski, you don't want to be on their bad side. They'll rip you apart. Prosecutor, the same. Pat Sullivan, he'll rip you a new one. But if you're respectful, if you're decent, if you do the right thing, and you're a gentleman about everything, and you're not a piece of shit, they'll treat you with respect, and it goes a long ways. Now, on top of that, they're nice people to begin with, because some agents just have a grudge against people, and they get into being law enforcement officers for the wrong reasons.
That's right.
So I was fortunate enough to fall into the hands of very normal, highly educated people. So,
And it sounds like you had pretty quickly after your arrest, you developed some sort of decent relationship with them. Is that fair to say?
Yes, and the most decent relationship is a truthful one. The worst thing you can do in any business is lie. You lie to Pablo, you're dead. You lie to U.S. law enforcement, they don't care. You can tell them I moved 500,000 kilos. That's fine. That's the truth. Don't lie to them.
Yeah.
Don't lie to them. Just like anybody, the people I used to work with, I lost the fucking load. There was a hurricane. The boat tipped over. All right. Well, we'd like to see a little goodwill money. But tell them the truth.
You imagine Pablo Escobar being like, all right, no problem. Thanks for being honest.
We lost loads. We lost loads. I would not advise anybody to get into this business, but if you do, and if you lose a load, it's always good to come up with some good faith money. Goodwill goes a long ways.
We don't condone cartel around here. Don't go do it. But
always offer to help lighten the load. I know you've been hurt. I've been hurt. Here's a little something to ease the pain, and then maybe they'll give you more credit.
Did you worry about where the product could be going and what it could be used for? Meaning, like I mentioned 20 minutes ago or whatever it was, the whole Hezbollah thing where they're using used cars and cocaine to basically fund like terror operations. Did you ever worry about some of the clientele on the other end using the product to then get to surreptitious groups did I say that correctly? Groups that are going to use it for the wrong reasons?
Yeah, the real unfriendlies. No. Maybe because I was so occupied as to what I was doing. I was always busy. I was always busy planning the next one, executing the one I was on. I was always so busy that all I know is that we transported, we handed it over in Spain or in New York or in Houston, and then they took it and they ran with it. I really did not think about, are they going to give it to Hezbollah or Hamas or these guys or whoever. I didn't worry about it because it really didn't come into my universe. We were never approached by any terrorist groups for us to work for them. So I was never put in contact, or I was never put in that situation. For example, was some of the product that we moved bought from the FARC? I know that some of it was, okay, because I know that all these cartels end up buying some product from FARC because the biggest supplier of cocaine is FARC, Fuerzas Armadas Revolucionarias de Colombia. But I had enough things on my plate to think about those things, and we never dealt with any terrorist groups. We never thought that our merchandise would end up in terrorist groups. We, when we dealt here in the States, basically it was all the hippies from Santa Cruz.
But obviously you were a high-level guy, so when they were put into contact with you to be potential clientele, they were serious people. They were people with resources and pockets. Did you ever have somebody come to you who you turned down working with them because you're like, no, we're not doing this. Like, I don't trust this guy, or I think there's something off here?
No, not really, because most of our stuff was already structured. And, for example, when we started working in Europe, yes, we did meet some Russians that were friends of the Greeks, and they'd come down to Greece, and they'd come down in their private planes with their ladies and everybody in mink coats and big diamond. I mean, these guys were ostentatious to the max.
Oh yeah.
So they were Russians. Who am I to judge? And the Greeks, the Italians, Americans. No, we had a very structured situation where we didn't really go out recruiting new clients. We were pretty structured, and we were very busy as to what we were already doing. So never did we have a situation where, because we turned somebody down or we didn't want to work with them, a war broke out or anything.
Right.
This is all pretty structured, and well thought out.
You had mentioned in Operation Journey when you went down simultaneously around the world, a lot of people you were associated with went down. But like for your coffee and macadamia business of people who were there allegedly doing that, but were really helping you run this business, like some of your go-to guys in the logistics end of it, did they go down too, or did some of them kind of get away?
Some of them didn't. Some of them, nothing happened.
And they just left the business?
Yeah.
Wow.
They left the business. Maybe one or two continued, but I've been out of touch.
So you don't talk with them at all?
No. Very, very far removed from that.
You did this for so long, so incognito, literally straight out of a movie, which is why finally, knock on wood here, we're getting a movie made. But, you still did end up getting caught. But I think a lot about these stories when we see all these guys who have Wikipedia pages. And I think about all the guys who don't have Wikipedia pages.
Oh.
Who did things, who did insane shit at any level, whether it's a guy like you who's a nonviolent behind-the-scenes guy who makes it happen, or a really violent guy who they just never knew who he was, a Kaiser Soze, if you will, and who maybe in many cases didn't continue and left the business and are just living openly right now.
I know a few. And they just fell through the cracks. It's either no. Look, there's some people in Bogota. My problem was, we got so big. My business model was grow. And that, I believe, is a wrong business model. I know some guys, or I don't know, but I know of some guys that have been working this business for the last 40, 45 years. And all they do is send 10 kilos a month to Europe. That's it. They don't do 20. They don't do 30. They don't do 50. But 10 kilos a month will make you $150,000 a month.
Great living.
So they've been doing this for 30 years, 40 years. And they're still there. I know people that moved hundreds of thousands of kilos. The government has known about them, but the statute of limitations have just not been there to be able to indict them. And they're living, they've got 500, 600, $1 billion. Oh,
my God.
And they're untouchable. They're, out there. The government knows they're out there, but there's nothing you can do.
They can't do anything.
No, and they worked it. And, they fell through the cracks.
were there mystery guys that you were always told about under some moniker that you never met, that you didn't know who they were or what their deal was? Like, you met some of the highest dudes there were, but were there some of these guys that it's like, oh, no one really knows who that is, or we can't talk about that?
No.
It's all
I
straightforward.
personally met everybody I worked with, and I worked directly with the owners of the merchandise. In my case, I guess that was old school. Maybe now it's different, but in my case, I met all these guys. It was a different time, it's like, Hollywood, when you can actually meet the actors, not like now. Maybe it's artificial intelligence. Who knows who's the head of the cartel now? Maybe it's artificial intelligence.
Oh, boy.
I don't know, but things have changed a lot. For me, it was like it was yesterday, but I know for a fact that things have changed a lot. Just in Mexico. Mexico was different before. It's gotten a lot rougher now.
Oh, yeah. Do you think a guy like you could exist today?
I'm sure guys like me exist today.
But in the same way? Nonviolent?
Yeah. Yeah. You could still, there's a lot of value to somebody that provides a service and is not violent. As long as you provide the service and you're good at it. That's the key. Provide the service and being good. If you're violent, nonviolent, that's secondary. I mean, my success was that, my routes and my logistics were good, and, my product made it to point Z.
Right.
No matter how nice you are or how amicable you are, if you fucking lose load after load after load, you're not going to last very long. So, but, I'm very, very fortunate that I got caught and fell in the right hands, that I did the right thing. And I know a lot of people that just get totally confused. They get arrested, and instead of, you got to put on your best game. Mm-hmm. This is, when you're dealing with the U.S. government, I mean, that's probably the toughest deal you're ever going to make in your life. And people lose it. Mm-hmm. They go off on a religious tangent. Yeah, religion's great, but listen, concentrate on what you're doing here. You just, can't lose track of what you need to do. And they lose it. They go nuts. They have very bad support from their families. Their wives leave them. And then they go ape shit. Mm-hmm. And then they lose focus on, taking care of this serious mess they're in.
Right.
I was fortunate that I was able to focus and keep my head, be healthy, and I think I did good time.
And when you came out of prison, you got into a whole different business. What was it, Impact Windows or something?
Yeah.
How did that happen?
Well, the girlfriend that gave me the party that I walked out on, her father was the innovator and the pioneer of windows in Miami. I mean, all those big buildings in Brickell that were done in 1980, he did them.
Wow.
So when I came out, everybody was talking impact windows, hurricane windows. So, in the 80s, everybody wanted cocaine. When I came out in the 2000s, everybody wanted impact windows. So it made sense. Give the people what they want. In the 80s, they wanted cocaine. Give them cocaine. In 2000, I came out and everything was impact windows. Miami was impact window crazy. So I hooked up with him, and he said, yeah, come into business with me. We're going to do impact windows. And that's how it started.
And you opened up your own, you went into business with him, but then opened up your own company?
Yeah, I went into business with him, but then his wife came in and says, I'm going to sue you, I'm going to sue you, and I'm going to sue you. You I'm married to, and I'm going to sue you, but you have a non-compete clause with me, and you I'm going to sue just because I want to sue you. You can't just come out of prison and take over. I have a non-compete. I said, you didn't tell me you had a non-compete with your wife. No, I do. I said, listen, we'll stay friends, but this is it for the business. And then I continued by myself. But that was, we were at the lawyer's office and, you know, we're sitting there signing all these papers. Oh, this is going to be great, great. Listen, I just didn't come off a banana boat. I have a non-compete and you and that. And then she was going to sue everybody. She was even going to sue the attorney.
Oh, my God.
Crazy lady. And so then I stayed in the business and I built it up. I sold it and then I came back. And now I moved into not the finished products end of the business, but the raw material end of the business.
Metals and stuff. But you also don't you have like a consulting firm that works with the government advising on?
Not so much anymore.
Not so much, but you did.
Yeah, I did. When I sold the business the first time around, I had a non-compete clause and I had to not do windows for 2 years. So I decided to go back and do a little consulting work. And
you went undercover, right?
Yes.
What was that like, and where were you going?
You know, it comes natural. I mean, to me, that kind of stuff, I know it, so I feel comfortable. I'm in my own element. You know.
Where'd they send you to do it?
I've been all over. I've been South America.
But you didn't. But weren't you like kind of known? Like, weren't people going to be on to that?
No, I mean, Jesus, 15 years, everybody changes. I mean, people forget, things change, and it was more than anything out of, you know, the adrenaline rush. It's, you know, and you're working with good people. If I would have felt out of place or I wouldn't have done it. But, you know, we had a good game plan. And
are you allowed to say what kind of stings it was?
No, I'd rather not.
Okay.
But put it this way. It's not the kind of thing that you build up and it's nothing you can leave your kids. So I went back to my business and I built that up. And, you know, it's something more, you know, solid. And how are you going to leave your son a consulting business of that nature?
Right,
That's
right.
crazy.
It's not. It's not.
Know. So, and also, I felt that these guys helped me a lot. So there's nothing wrong with me helping them a bit.
Playing for the other side.
When I was on the black side, I was black. White. I was never gray. I never played both, you know.
That's a good way to put it.
I was either in or I was out. You know, all in or all out. I never, while I was in the business, I never, you know, worked for the other guys or informed or nothing like that.
I got you. And what do you, the metals business you talked about a couple times today, but like what specifically are you doing there?
Well, basically, a lot of the, you know, the products that we sold as window products, finished products, they're all aluminum. So we sell aluminum to the extruding companies and, you know, that make the windows. Or there's a lot of companies that we sell copper to. Copper for
where
copper
do you go
wiring.
Where do you go get it?
Well, that's sourced either in India, Middle East, Turkey, Africa. And it's sold to a lot of extruders in Mexico, Central America, some in the U.S. It's products that are sold mostly, you know, to for industrial use.
Do you leverage contacts that you may have come across in your old life for that at all? Or
no,
totally different?
No. That would be going
not in a bad way. No, that's not what I mean. Like just people you came across or whatever who were connected to certain things that made for a legal business like this actually make sense. That's what I'm getting at. Not like anything illegal.
No, most of the people, you know, that were in that business, I haven't seen in a very long time. And a lot of time has passed by. You know?
Oh, yeah.
No, all these people in the new metals business and all this, the new people that I met, you know, since I started in the windows and so on and so forth.
Got it. I had said we were going to put a pin in Amado, Carrillo, Fuentes, because that had come up earlier, and I didn't want to get you off on a tangent. But I think you were saying you had dealt with him as well. He was a major kingpin in Mexico. Is that where you were getting at?
No, I dealt with his lieutenant there in Mexico, and I have friends that work directly with Amado, but I never worked directly with him.
Okay.
No.
I
worked with the Arellanos.
Well, they were also big.
Yeah.
They were huge. You ever work with El Mayo or El Chapo?
Yes. Directly, I never met El Chapo, but some of the people I worked with in Colombia and under the same umbrella, the same company, let's say, we did send merchandise to Mexico. And back then, we were dealing with somebody that we called El Rápido, and that was El Chapo.
You called him El Rap? Why did you call him El Rápido?
Because back then, when you sent merchandise to Mexico, a lot of times it would take 30 days to cross. You would send it today, they would receive it, and they would cross the border and hand you the merchandise in L.A. 30 days later.
Mm.
That was normal, 30 days.
Why was it 30
days? And then
days?
suddenly, this guy, El Rápido, because he started using tunnels, was able to cross this merchandise in 2 days, 4 days. And then they called him El Rápido, and it turned out, that was Chapo. But when we worked with him, we referred to him as El Rápido.
When did he start using the tunnels? Like the early 90s?
Well, they used it even back in the late 80s and stuff like that to cross pot. But the big time, I remember that we saw it. It was like the early 90s, yes, that the time periods shortened dramatically. That's why, that's why they called him El Rápido, because, like I said, they used to take 30 days, and suddenly it started taking 3-4 days, and that's when they really grew fast. And the Chapo group was taking in most of the merchandise in Mexico, but the biggest in Mexico at the time was Amado Carrillo. Mm. Amado was very big. He used planes, very big.
That's what I was asking, because you had talked about bringing the planes in, and then after Rafa was already gone, you were doing that. So I would imagine.
I was working with somebody that they called El Ocho, that he was connected with Ociel Cárdenas, the Gulf Cartel, and I never dealt with Amado.
What was when El Chapo was getting in and out of prison? He did it like through the tunnel and whatever, and was on the run and all that. I think that was when people in America started to realize just how intertwined the cartels are with the political system in Mexico. Like, that's always been a thing, but maybe in our consciousness we started to realize that more. What I want to know is, when you were there, though, as a middleman, effectively, you spent how many years living in Mexico? Like 3 or 4, something like that?
3 or 4 years, but I've been going to Mexico for the last 20 years.
Okay. How much interaction did you have with politicians and cops to pay them off?
None.
None?
None. That was not my job. I had my Mexican connection. That was his job.
Oh, so they took care of all that for you?
Yes. No, I didn't go there.
Okay. Probably for the best.
Yeah. No. I didn't. If I didn't have to go there, I wouldn't go there.
What were the biggest differences between the Mexican cartel and the Colombian cartel?
Colombians are very organized. They were very structured. The biggest difference is just, attitude. For example, when I was in the biggest mistake you can make is being a Colombian and going to Mexico and trying to be a boss in Mexico. Mexico is for the Mexicans. Let the Mexicans run Mexico. And a lot of people have made that mistake. Colombians going to Mexico, trying to tell the Mexicans what to do. They end up dead. So Mexicans have their style. Colombians, they're more business-minded, let's say. But the big money is in Mexico. And it's gotten to a point that, Colombians don't want to deal in the U.S. anymore. They've already been through that program in the 80s. A lot of people got indicted in the 90s. So right now, the Colombians are sending most of their product to Europe, to Asia, Australia, Japan, India, and they let the Mexicans handle the U.S. So let's say, Mexicans buy 10,000 kilos in Colombia. So the Colombians will sell them the 10,000 kilos. 5,000 will belong to the Mexicans, 5,000 to the Colombians. The Colombians sell their product in Mexico to the Mexicans. So the big distribution is done by Mexicans in the U.S. The Mexicans run the U.S. market.
And that's today.
Today.
Which makes sense. So, but what you're saying is Colombia is still very powerful.
Very powerful, of course.
And who's in power now? Because the cartels we've been talking about, Medellin, Cali, they're all long gone.
I really don't know, but it's a bunch of the style has changed. Now you could be in a restaurant with a totally unknown guy, young, old, whatever, and he runs a massive cocaine business and nobody even knows about it. They've learned a lot from all the experiences they've had over the years.
Wow.
Yeah. Mexico is more visible, It's
the Wild West out there.
Colombia is still, they've changed their profile. So...
Yeah, the Mexican cartels, that's all we ever hear about. That's part of it, too. We're kind of biased because, like you said, they handle the U.S., and we have the border problem with drugs coming across and things like that. So we forget about some of these other ones, but that's interesting that Colombia is still kicking that much.
Colombia, yeah, it's sending most of their product is going to Europe. I mean, like I said, Mexicans are running the U.S. That U.S.-Mexico border is off the wall.
Yeah,
a lot.
It's crazy.
And the Colombians really don't want nothing to do with the U.S. They believe the U.S. is too proactive. They'll send merchandise to Holland, and Holland knows where it came from, probably knows who owns it, this and that. But Holland does not get proactive and go and indict the Colombians. Right. The U.S. does, even though, it's done in Colombia. They don't want to deal with that. They don't want to deal with the U.S.
Fair enough. Well, what we had talked at the very beginning of our conversation about you and Jesse getting together and how that all happened, where you ended up writing this book. But what made you want to finally do this? Because it's not like you got out of prison and wrote the book. You wrote it years later, and you're a guy who, like we said, to this day doesn't even put his real address on his driver's license, and now he wrote a book and he's at least willing to come on a podcast. What changed?
I don't know. I started writing it and thinking about it when I was in jail, and I said I'm going to do a book, and suddenly, I don't know, I bumped into Jesse, and what started out as something that maybe or maybe not, it started to become reality more and more every day. And suddenly, one day, Jesse had the book written, and it was written. And we spent 2.5 years talking on the phone, him in Australia, me in Miami, with the time difference.
That's wild.
But we worked on it, and it's something that happened. And there it is. It's just like the movie now. And yeah, you're right. This guy doesn't put his eye, but he's out here doing a podcast showing, weird. But I guess it's something that in the end, I always wanted to do it. I always, and the people that convinced me or told me that it was a good idea were the agents themselves, like Bob Harley. He told me, listen, I've interviewed 20 guys, and they all want to write a book. And they all, the one thing they have in common is you. They all talk about Louis Navia. So their 5 minutes of your life, the one that should write the book is you.
Yeah.
So, and they told, a lot of them, most of them have always told me that they, dealt with a lot of people, heard a lot of stories, but mine is definitely unique. So go ahead and write it.
Yeah, I hope everyone goes and gets it. And I mean, if you've listened to these two podcasts we just did today, I mean, my God, you have easily the most unique story from the cartels I've ever come across. And
it's a wild ride.
It is a wild ride. And like I said this at some point earlier, probably in the first podcast, but like the federal agents and stuff check a lot of this stuff out. I mean, not every single thing can be checked, but like the things you talk about in the places you really did do these deals. You really did know these people. Like, if we didn't have the backing of like the government being able to say, yeah, no, we did these cases and this is what he was doing, you wouldn't believe what you say because it doesn't even make sense. But
no, it's fiction. It sounds like fiction, but it's real.
Yeah.
I mean, I look back at it now and I said, if I had to do this all over again, I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
I don't even, did I plan this? No. Now, Jesse thought it was fiction. He said, there's no way that can all be true. And then that's why this has like 120 pages of bibliography and research and references. It's crazy. He did a tremendous job.
And that's why the intro is so long with so many. It's basically Jesse. I mentioned this earlier, but it's basically Jesse talking to us, the audience, and walking us through all the different angles he's been covering and with highlights of conversations he's had with you. And it paints the picture of like he was going into this like no fucking way. Yeah, and then by the end, he's like,
even the
part
I'll
be dipped in shit.
Alberto Sicilia, he couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
And, I've been very truthful. That's, and he just, he had everything I said, he had to confirm it because, that's his business. He's an author. He has to be 100%.
Yeah.
He can't, there's no room for mistakes. And then that's part of the attractiveness of this, that, it's like a fiction, but it's real.
What do you think we, like the public in pop culture today, looking at the era that you participated in of cartels, what do you think we get the most wrong about it? Like we clearly, just from a standpoint of thinking we get it, we don't.
Whew. Well, it's not as glamorous as they put it, It's hard work, and there's a lot of money involved, but you don't keep all the money, and some of the things that are put on TV look a lot easier than they actually are. Like what I did, it took a lot of hard work, I may not have, maybe I didn't go to an office from 9 to 5, but I was thinking about this 24/7. This completely encompasses you. That, talk about being a workaholic.
Yeah.
So it's not as easy as they portray it. It takes a lot of hard work, and it's fast money, but it's not easy money.
Yeah, I see. I've been watching you today when you'll explain things. I'm similar. You'll start to draw things out with numbers and almost doodles and directions, and I can watch your mind moving and how you're like calculating everything, and I see why you were successful at what you did. You have to be constantly.
And this is nothing. I mean, sometimes I go through 4 or 5 pages. This has just been a nicer interview. Not the other ones aren't nicer, but. We've been able to flow, but a lot of times I do 5, 6 pages. But I always keep notes because that's what
what you do.
Yeah, that's what I do. But I tell you, I don't know. I don't know how I did it. If I had to do it again, I don't think I could.
Well, Luis, it is a wild, wild story. I got to get you to your plane so you catch your flight on the way out of here, but this has been a really awesome conversation. I'm glad we could do it, and I'm happy you're alive. I mean, I don't know how, but
Great
Jesus
to be
Christ.
Here. And thank you very much, because it's really been a great time, great meeting you, and we've had a tremendous chat here.
Absolutely. We'll have to do it again sometime, all right?
The movie.
Right. Yes, the movie's coming. We got that on deck, too. We'll figure that out. But for now, everyone else, you know what it is. Give it a thought. Get back to me. Peace. Thank you guys for watching the episode. Before you leave, please be sure to hit that subscribe button and smash that like button on the video. It's a huge help. And also, if you're over on Instagram, be sure to follow the show at Julian Dorey Podcast, or also on my personal page at Julian D. Dorey. Both links are in the description below. Finally, if you'd like to catch up on our latest episodes, use the Julian Dorey Podcast playlist link in the description below. Thank you.